Hello and welcome to the Hard Questions. I'm Solomon Serwanja and the year is 2026. Thank you for watching. Thank you for 2025. You are such an amazing audience. It is certainly a political season up until May as new leaders begin to prepare to take over from the old leadership. And since it's politics, everything has been happening. President Joe Museveni was declared by the Electoral Commission as the president-elect of Uganda. Robert Kyagulanyi, his main opponent, is still on the run. Is government hunting him down? What really is going on? On this episode of the Hard Questions, I'm privileged to be speaking with the Information Minister, who also doubles as the official government spokesperson of Uganda, Dr. Chris Baryomunsi. Dr. Chris Baryomunsi, thank you so much for joining us on the Hard Questions.
Thank you very much, Solomon, and I am happy to be hosted by you, and I'm ready for the hard questions.
First of all, I want to congratulate you on winning Kinkizi East as a member of parliament. You're back, 20 years serving. How has it been for you to win this election?
Yes, thank you very much for the congratulations. Yes, it's the constituency I have represented for the last 20 years, and the voters in Kinkizi East have renewed my mandate to run and represent them in the 12th parliament. It was tough, but I am one MP who is on the ground, and I think my people appreciate the work that I do. And I don't use a lot of money, but my strength is on how I have been representing the people in the parliament, but also more so how I am able to lobby for services on the ground, and they feel me.
You know, you just talked about using a lot of money. For all of us who know how elections run in this country, there's a lot of monetization of our politics. And Western Uganda, really, from the party primaries to winning at the constituency level, it is very expensive. Like, candidates inject a lot of money. How much did you use for this election?
Well, I am yet to compute how much, but it should be in the range of 200, 300 million.
300 million shillings to win an
Yes,
election?
yes. You can cross-check in Kanungu. I know money in our politics has become a huge problem, and if we do not check this issue as government, if we don't address campaign financing and how much by injecting the money, then our politics is going to get vulgarized by having good people like you who have ideas but are poor, but they're not a poor man, but can't raise billions to run. Then you will be kept off politics. At the end of the day, you get transactional leaders who come to parliament, who come to politics looking for money, looking for survival, rather than coming to articulate the issues of Ugandans. So for me, my strength on the ground is not the money I inject in. Yes, you need money to finance the campaign, buy fuel, to facilitate your agents and coordinators to do talk shows, to do campaign materials, but I don't use billions of money for the parliamentary seat. In any case, you don't get those billions from parliament.
Yeah, but Chris, you were sick and you were airlifted, I remember.
Yes, I collapsed.
You collapsed and you were airlifted because there are no medical services.
No. I collapsed in the constituency and I was rushed to Kambuga Hospital. And the doctors attended to me and I got out of coma. But my family and friends in Kampala organized the helicopter to airlift me. So it was not a referral. It was just an initiative of my family and friends who hired a chopper to lift me from Kambuga to Mulago Hospital. But I had already gotten out of danger in Kambuga Hospital, and I appreciate the doctors who treated me.
Are there medical services really great
Yes,
at Kambuga Hospital?
There are 5 doctors in Kambuga Hospital, and 4 of them are specialists, because we are trying to upgrade that hospital into a regional referral hospital. And I already lobbied for resources. We have put in 43 billion to rehabilitate the hospital. So contrary to what the media was portraying as if the hospital is sick, there are services which are offered. And I was actually treated there. So when I came to Marago, I had already recovered, and then they just do additional tests and they worked on me.
Okay.
Some people were saying, we lift you to Nairobi, we lift you to India, but it was not necessary because it was a minor enemy. I just got some exhaustion because I had slept in Kampala, traveled all night. I was actually delivering iron sheets to a church and having some church functions. I had not taken enough food. I think in the intervening period, I just got exhausted and hypoglycemic, and then blacked out a bit, but it was managed.
Okay, interesting. Dr. Chris, let's go to the build-up of the elections. And I know we have a lot to talk about, so let's talk about the issue of the internet shutdown. On January the 5th, 2026, during a joint press briefing at the Uganda Media Center, you, Dr. Chris Baryomunsi, informed us that you will not switch off the internet. And in your words, let me just quote, you said, civic participation and information technologies allow voters to access reliable and timely information. You are, however, warned that regulations will be tight, prohibiting live streaming of riots and unlawful processions. On January 13th through the 18th, another statement came up, shutting down the internet, specifically on January 13th, 2026. The Uganda Communications Commission issued a directive to all internet service providers to suspend public internet access. You shut us all out while we were defining our democracies. You switched off the internet. What do you people take us for?
Well, my earlier statement, I think it was not complete. I was saying as of then, we were not seeing need to shut off the internet because we are in charge of digital transformation. And the digital services are the center of service delivery now. But I had also added, probably it was not captured, that depending on the circumstances as they come up. So in the run-up to the elections, I think there was a lot of security and intelligence information that clearly indicated that the elements of our society wanted to misuse social media and cause disruption. So we had consultations within government as who run the digital services, security and intelligence services, because we work together as a broader government and we assessed whether to switch off or not. It's a painful decision to make because we know there are losses that Ugandans incur when you cut off internet services. But at the same time, we carry responsibility of ensuring that everybody is secure. So it's a balance between service delivery, but also security of all of us. And then the decision at a higher level had to be taken that let's interrupt some internet services for the sake of securing the country. So it was more to do with the security rather than wishing to disrupt the lives of Ugandans. I know like the work you do here depends on the internet, depends on digital platforms. You get inconvenienced. But you see, the English say, to get an omelette, you must break the egg. So sometimes to get something good, there are inconveniences.
Dr. Chris,
and all of us were inconvenienced, but at least the kind of insecurity which had been predicted was forestalled by that action. So there is a positive side to that breakdown of internet, although it had a cost on the other hand.
Dr. Chris, one will put it the other way. Our democracy died in darkness. There are so many things that we are not able to see because you shut off the internet. So many violations were committed. People were beaten. Bullets were all over. No one knew what was happening. And this is not the first time you're doing it. In the 2021 general election, your government shut down the internet. In these elections, you have shut down the internet. I can guarantee you that in the next election, you use the same argument of national security to shut down the internet. Basically, what you guys want, you do, and we're just supposed to take it.
Well, internet and other services are regulated. The use of internet is regulated.
And everything is
Like
under the
many
cover of
like-
national
like-
security.
Like many others.
Where does national security start and stop?
Well, national security is also as equally important as the other services like internet and many other things. Like I've said, running a state, running a government, you have to take balanced decisions. And those decisions you take, they may cause inconveniences. Like in this case, there was a huge inconvenience to Ugandans in terms of communication, and we alive that fact. But at the same time, we carry a responsibility of ensuring that the people are secure. If we detect that continued access to internet is likely to be injurious to Ugandans, would you say we keep quiet? Yes, there's freedom of information and access to internet, but then people can die because of that. So it's an act of careful balancing. And
Dr.
we want
Chris,
Ugandans
we
to
had
understand.
heavy military deployment across the country. Government put its foot down everywhere in all our different constituencies. We had the military police, we had the police. In some places, we had the army everywhere.
Yes,
And that army would be strong enough to thwart any sort of security challenge that would come
maybe
up.
in the process of thwarting those threats, people would die if internet was on and so forth. Maybe the shutting down of internet enabled security to function better by even not killing people. But you know where internet, especially in fragile societies like ours, has been used to cause mayhem. So the intention, the purpose was to disrupt that mayhem which was being
Or
prepared.
can we say in pseudo democracies? We saw what happened in Tanzania at the peak of, elections there. They shut down the internet. It has become a new, format that leaders now use in Africa under the disguise of national security, and it's totally unacceptable.
Where we take
You know what happened in
professional.
Tanzania, right?
I know, yes.
The mass killings that happened with evidence that was documented. Everything happened in the dark. We know what happened here. There are so many people who were shot at, people who violations committed, but everything
Some of them are
was
just
going to
speculations.
silence.
But the people were able to use their phones and computers and the cameras to take pictures. Internet is back. If the people who were shot dead, let them now post the pictures and work backwards and investigate all those. Some of that is just speculation, simply because internet was disrupted. Then their wild, fertile imagination is that people must have been killed. But we don't have that information that people were killed. If there are cases where somebody was killed or died, that case should be reported. And then we investigate as a government. If the soldier, if our security officers misbehaved, they are not above the law. They can be apprehended.
Dr.
Because
Chris, 10
cutting
people
off the
were
internet
killed.
was not a license for anybody.
Dr. Chris,
Anybody
10
to
people,
injure or kill someone.
10 people were shot in the house of Honorable Mwanga Chivumbi. 3 people died.
Was it
in
because of
Former
internet?
East.
No.
But they were killed, and no one
Yes,
knew.
but the
except
killing-
until when
The killing in Butambara had nothing to do with the shutdown of internet.
no, but these violations
And,
are committed when we don't know. The world did not know until
Well,
when
knowing
everything-
is another thing, but even if internet was on, if the security officers had misbehaved, they would still misbehave. But we are saying internet was shut down to forestall the abuse and misuse which was being prepared, which could have inflamed the situation in Uganda and probably put Uganda on fire, and we're trying to put off that fire. So it was well intentioned. Because what do you think was the benefit of government by closing internet? It
Well,
was just security concerns.
well, you just
Now the
couldn't-
issue of Butambara is a matter which is before courts of law. It was very unfortunate that some Ugandans died and a member of parliament is in prison. We pray and hope that justice will prevail and that proper investigations will be carried out, and then the truth comes out exactly what happened, because all of us are relying on what we are getting. But since investigations are being carried out, we hope that everything will be fine, but it's regrettable that people had to die in Butambara.
And there must be an accountability to that.
Absolutely.
It's not enough to apologize.
No.
10 lives were
10 lives. These are 10 human beings. Even if it was one person, let's not reduce them to statistics. These are human beings, maybe with children, with parents. So there must be accountability. We have to know what exactly happened. And couldn't those deaths have been avoided? That's the question we are asking. But since the matter is before the court of law, we pray and hope that a thorough investigation and an honest one will be carried out, and then Ugandans will get to know the truth. What was the role of the member of parliament, for instance, in those deaths? Is it our security officers who breached the law and crossed the line? If that is the case, even them, they should be questioned.
And yet your government had the audacity of taking Mwanga Chivumbi to court without even apprehending any of those soldiers who committed those atrocities.
No, the member of parliament, I think, is at the center of whatever happened. And
the soldiers,
and being a member
and
of
the military officers or security officers that killed people are still at large. Am I right?
I think the narrative which the president also gave was the young people who were part of Mwanga Chivumbi's electoral team were attacking security, because the president has been on record saying the information he has that some politicians had arranged that if they lose, then they organize their supporters to go and attack security installations. That's the very serious issue. And it was that there was that confrontation that resulted in the death of these young people. I don't know that all of them were young, but you see the noob politicians had organized what they commonly called a gali. They had young people, groups of militias protecting them and moving with them. And I think the approach they were using was not a good one. And that's what would have resulted in that gali of Mwanga Chivumbi confronting security. But I hope the investigations will dig out exactly what happened. We are all relying on what we are hearing, what we saw the president saying. But let's hope that the investigations will be thorough so that the truth can come out. If Mwanga Chivumbi is innocent, then he should not be punished when he's innocent. But if he is found to be at the center and he is found guilty, well, let the law take its course. What is important is that when he was arrested, he was taken to a proper court and it will process everything.
Dr. Chris Baryomunsi, you have not answered my question.
Yes.
The military officers that opened fire and killed 10 people are still at large. They are not under any form of investigations. They are not brought before the military court martial. But yet government arrested Mwanga Chivumbi on investigations and allied him in court. Makes sense to you?
No. First of all, do you know they are not being investigated? Because not everything that is done within government, within the army, is for talk shows or for radio announcements and so forth. Because the army and the other security agencies have also their own internal mechanisms of how they cross-check and assess the conduct of their officers. So I have not been given a proper briefing what's going on, but I suspect and I think there should be an internal process within the army and security institutions to also check on the conduct, to satisfy themselves whether the shooting officers did the right thing and under what circumstances did they take a decision to shoot those young people who were killed. All these will come out.
Chris, you see, the reason
because the government and indeed the army, UPDF, does not believe in extrajudicial killings. Even when you are an opponent of the state, even when you are on the other side of the political equation, the position of the NRM government is that you should not be killed. So I can't easily absolve those who were killed that they were not in the wrong, but rarely would you find a soldier just getting someone and then just shoot him. That's not the behavior and expected conduct of UPDF. So, but I know there is a strong disciplinary mechanism within UPDF, and certainly there must be processes looking at what happened in Kutambara also within UPDF itself. But not all of these things are usually.
You know, Dr. Chris, you see, the reason I asked that question is when impunity like that happens and there is not any form of accountability, it speaks loud to the state. One of the things, to the state of affairs of a country, one of the things that President Yoweri Museveni and the commander of the UPDF used to boast about was the discipline of the UPDF. And to his word, honestly, if you look, at the early times of the UPDF, everything was professional. It was unknown that the UPDF soldiers would do some of these things that are happening now. I don't know if I can still say the same for that. But I'll give you an example, and this is bringing me to the next question. Security officers went and surrounded the Honorable Robert Chagulanyi's home. I mean, just come off an election, is at his home, the home is surrounded, he somehow escapes, and the soldiers are there, or military personnel, they somehow, jump into the fence, break into the house at 10:30 p.m. Chris, you're married, you have a wife, you've left the home, you leave the wife in the house at 10:30 p.m. There are over 40 people, according to the narrative we've had. They compromise the fence, get in, break the house, get into the house. They get your wife, or Babi Chagulanyi in this case, she's lying on the floor, she's traumatized, she's scared. According to her narrative, they ask her for her passwords, the trauma she goes through, over 40 men. It's like, what is happening? What is going on? What is happening? What is going on? What's happening? Why did you do that? Why did the UPDF that you're praising, or the security services that you're praising, do that? Is Babi Chagulanyi wanted? Has she been given, an arrest warrant, or, is Robert Chagulanyi wanted? Has he been summoned by the police? Has he refused to go to the police? Why did you and your government go and break into a house of a leader of a party, a presidential candidate, and do that?
Well, the Honorable Robert Chagulanyi is the leader of the main opposition party, NUP, and ran for president of Uganda. This was the second time, and he came second. That is not a crime, because we are in a multi-party dispensation, and Ugandans are free to belong to political parties and run for office. Being a wife of Robert Chagulanyi, like Babi Chagulanyi is not a crime. So there is no justification at all to invade their home and assault anybody and cause any damage. As I have been seeing, I saw the narrative of Babi Chagulanyi. Well, my assessment, there was a sense of exaggeration and maybe a lot of sensationalization. We are finding out exactly what happened, but I have publicly condemned that kind of behavior, because the UPDF should remain a disciplined force. That even when you want to search somebody's home, for whatever reason, it has to be done lawfully and professionally. So if at all the narrative is correct, that there was that damage, then there was that assault, then within UPDF, this should be investigated and punished, because it is wrong. That's what is expected of the conduct of UPDF as a professional army. So, from the government standpoint, that would be wrong, and we shall find out.
So let me make it clear, Dr. Chris Baryomunsi. The UPDF is commandeered by the CDF, General Muhoozi Kainerugaba, who must have authorized that operation. From what you're saying that what General Muhoozi Kainerugaba did is a crime and it should be investigated for what it is. He broke the law by commandeering such an operation and therefore should face the full arm of the law. That, if I'm clear, is that what you're saying?
I'm saying we're yet to find out.
No, it is
you are
clear.
making a conclusion now. What makes it?
It is clear that we had boots on ground in Robert Chagulani's home with guns, compromised the security, went in and broke into a house, and the CDF posted a picture on his social account saying, this is what happened. You as a government spokesperson, you sit in cabinet, you represent government, you have just told me that you have condemned this, and in black and white, it is a crime, and therefore crimes need to be investigated and something done. And you're saying that General Muhoozi Kainerugaba broke the law and he should be investigated and something has to be done.
I have not said Muhoozi has broken the law. I am saying, assuming that sensational report that Babi Chagulani was giving is right, I have not seen the report. It will be investigated. Some people are looking at it. So I don't want to draw conclusions now.
You were in such a place back in 2011 when you were arrested with the team of doctors, the whole Zivwa, Nevanda scandal, and we reported that with you. And one of the things saying, no, what you're doing is wrong because you're breaking the law. Someone else will be coming. Was Babi Chagulani summoned? Was Robert Chagulani summoned? It is wrong that they broke into his house. So there's nothing to investigate. There's evidence.
No.
The CDF himself posted a picture of Babi Chagulani on the floor with a military officer with guns. And he said, well, Babi gave us a lot of information on his official account. From what you're saying this is wrong. UPDF doesn't do that. They crossed the Rubicon, and therefore they committed a crime and need to be investigated.
No. You investigate, then make those conclusions. You don't conclude, then investigate. So we shall find out. What is government's position on that action? That action? Government position is what I'm telling you now. That we do not, that Honorable Chagulani and his wife and family members are not wanted. And there is no justification whatsoever of invading their homes or assaulting anybody or witch hunting them. That's the position. So if at all there was abuse of responsibility by UPDF, that will be looked at. But for now, I cannot make a conclusion that yes, they did this, they broke this. You are all relying on what you see on social media. And I think more work has to be done to satisfy ourselves that the extent is what happened there. And then the action where necessary will be taken.
Dr. Chris, is your government in charge? Clearly, you've just said it's abuse of power, that you send military officers to someone's home, and it's unacceptable. And you have condemned it.
I have. If at all it happened, yes.
It happened.
No, I don't know.
You don't know that his home was raided?
No, what I can say that there is some security deployment at Chagulani's residence. I have said this several times. But the purpose of the deployment is because the Honorable Chagulani's home is of security interest given the prevailing political environment. And the intention is not to harm anybody. The intention is not to chase him from his home, but to do some security monitoring because we are trying to prevent a situation where Ugandans can use that residence now to incite the public, cause violence, start riots. Basically, any responsible government would want to ensure that we quell any potential threats. Because you know the way the
Dr. Chris,
campaign,
why did the UPDF break into Robert Chagulanyi's house?
we shall answer that when the investigations have been carried out and we know whether indeed they broke into the house, whether indeed there are damages which were caused, whether indeed there was assault of Web Jagulanyi, and because she was no being assaulted, injured. But as a medical doctor, when I saw, just on social media, I didn't see as physically injured as she was reporting, maybe mentally injured, but physically. But all those things, people are looking at them, that they should not worry. We are not saying that if there are any wrongs by UPDF or police or any security agencies, they should be swept under the carpet. No, because the NRM government has a commitment of ensuring that we build our army into a professional army which should respect the rights of citizens. Those citizens don't have to be supporters of NRM, even if they are members of the opposition, their rights must be respected. So no UPDF soldier has a license to just go and start beating people, ransacking houses, assaulting people simply because you are
But
UPDF.
this is exactly what is happening.
So if there are those
And-
wrongs, if there are those
there
wrongs
must
within,
be
yes, and my point is, if there are
held
those wrongs,
accountable.
if there are those wrongs within security services, they should and they will be punished. It is true, sometimes there are some wrong elements within security circles. And sometimes they may even take the law into their hands when they have not been commanded so, just as individuals. And once this is found out, they should be punished and they have to be. So not every action by a soldier, by police, is sanctioned by the commanders, is sanctioned by the bosses. Sometimes these young junior officers, they get compromised, they get bribed and so
So
forth.
are you saying
and
that
they
in
deviate.
this case, the junior officers just did what they wanted to do?
That
Without
is, no, I'm
having-
saying you will require an investigation to find out exactly. If at all they invaded the house, was it
And
cleared
yet
by?
the CDF posted a picture.
We shall also look at it also. We shall
You
look
see,
at
Dr. Chris, why I'm really having this conversation and
Yes.
exchange with you is a government that is in power and a government that is in charge, the center of power is in one place. When you have several centers of power sending different signals, then the center doesn't hold. When people in their different constituencies or leaders decide to do or to take action without the center knowing or without the center being in charge, we then worry whether your government is still in charge because you're speaking another language, another center is speaking another language. And that scares us as Ugandans that who is in charge here? Is the executive?
I
Is your
hope you
government
count
is-
me as part of the center.
Yes, you are part
Yes,
of the
yes,
center. So that's
yes.
what I'm saying. Is government in charge?
Yes, government is fully in charge and there should be no cause for alarm. What has happened is that we ran a successful election. Ugandans participated in the vote. Leaders were declared from the level of the president. We are now remaining with a few local governments next week. There is calmness in the country. There is peace and stability. A few elements within the opposition were threatening mayhem, wanting to cause violence and social disruption following elections. But the security is in charge to ensure that all of us are safe. There could be mistakes here and there done by individual soldiers, but those can be handled. Now, for clarity and emphasis, the Robert Chagulanyi, who is the main opposition leader, chose on his own to go into hiding. Maybe that makes his politics. Hiding from what? I don't know. But we have assured him and assured all his supporters that the government, the state, is not hunting for him.
And
He's
yet
free.
you break into
He's
his
free.
house.
That I have said we are going to investigate.
But if
there
he's free, then why do you
Just
break
hold
into
on.
his house?
If there are any excesses there, they will be handled. But Robert Chagulanyi, if he retired now, he would go to his home and live comfortably like any other citizen, provided he does not go into law breaking. So if you are talking of the center of government, now this is the position from the center of government. Those are small things, maybe security agencies misbehaving here and there, that can be corrected.
Dr. Chris,
Once we have
those
gotten,
are not small things.
Yeah.
Breaking into someone's house at 10:30 p.m. plus is not a
well,
small.
this is,
Yes, you see, Dr. Chris, you're saying he's not needed, he's not hunted. And on the other opposite, someone says, I'm looking for him and I want his head.
no,
So what is going on?
the CDF.
And then you break into
I have commented severally. The CDF usually makes Twitter communication. And I have referred to his comments at times as casual. You see, at times he deletes them. And but I'm sure deep down you know they do not most of the time represent what is the view of government. For instance, when he said he wrote that we have killed 22 people and the 23rd head will be that of Chagulanyi, do you in your heart of hearts believe that if Chagulanyi came, then the CDF will get a panga and cut off his head? Do you really believe it?
But let me.
Do you think that's a decision government, either at high command or cabinet, has taken, that Chagulanyi, when we see him, we put him on a chopping board and cut off his head? In your heart of hearts,
You know,
do
Chris,
you believe that?
I think you're just taking the CDF very lightly, but he's very serious about what he posts.
Okay, yes,
When
be serious.
the CDF posted Eddie Mutwe's picture that he's in the basement learning Runyanko, he said Eddie Mutwe is next and we're coming for him. And he was arrested. Eddie Mutwe, the next time we see his picture posted by the CDF that is in the basement learning Runyankole, to date, Eddie Mutwe was arraigned in court and is in prison, is there. The CDF doesn't put these tweets on his accounts joking. No, he's very serious about what he says. And seriously so that you should take
Yes,
you should take him
he's
serious.
managing security from that perspective. Maybe the way he handles communication is another. Of course, that didn't mean that Eddie Mutwe was innocent. He's doing his work. But I'm just commenting from the perspective of communication, which we are trying to harmonize internally within the government. But what I'm saying is that not everything he posts means is going to happen. When he said Kizza Besigye will be hanged by June 9, some year of Heroes Day. So did you believe that we are going to have a ceremony of hanging Kizza Besigye? So that's what I'm saying.
Dr. Chris, whether you
When the Ugandans have gotten used.
you see, you're saying used, but this has caused a lot of diplomatic attention.
Yes.
You know what happened with Kenya? The president himself had to write to say we apologize. Just shortly, the other day he had said that the US embassy and the US government is working to keep Chagulanyi away. And he posted it, and the Americans didn't take it lightly. They were really mad that Adonia Ayebale, the UN permanent representative to the United Nations, had to come in, and eventually he came out and he apologized. These are not just statements jokingly like what you're saying. People take them seriously.
They do, but we have an internal mechanism to handle that. We are handling it.
Do you consider that indiscipline?
Well, generally in Uganda, there are many people who are excited with social media communication. Certainly the CDF, but many people. That's why, like for instance, I said, we have to take a painful decision of shutting down internet because there are many Ugandans who irresponsibly use social media. It's a new culture. It has caused excitement. As the technology revolution comes in, there are those. I communicate through social media, but I'm very cautious what I post. I don't just, so people behave differently in terms of how they communicate. But the official statements of government come from my office because we handle the spokesmanship of
I
government.
agree with you.
So I know it's a challenge, but we are internally handling it.
You know that it's a challenge, and you sit in cabinet.
Yes.
Have you raised this issue in cabinet, and have you weighed in on that very issue that you've said, reckless use of social media?
Yes, we have discussed it. I have discussed it with the president himself on a one-to-one, and I have brought regulations in cabinet on communication. I am even procuring technology that is going to help us filter communications on social media in Uganda. So there is a lot of work we are doing. Yes. And my point has been, we must use social media responsibly. So that
just to be clear, Chris, you brought to the attention of the president the character of communication of the CDF on Twitter to his attention. You've spoken to him about it. Yesterday you were in Capital Gang and you mentioned that you've brought this issue to him.
Yes, I have.
Could you tell us a little bit more?
No, I will not go back to some of these are internal discussions within government. We have what we call the need to know principle. I speak for government, but I don't have to say anything and everything that we do within. So those contradictions within our system, we are handling them so that we harmonize the community. I agree that when you start getting contradicting information from the same government, it confuses the public. People wonder, whom do we listen to? But we are using our own internal mechanisms to harmonize ourselves so that we have one language, one message we give the public. That's the challenge of being a government spokesperson. It's not a flowery job, but we have to do it. We have to do it, and those challenges not with the
You find yourself in a very delicate position, Chris, of having to answer these questions.
But I am able to navigate through.
Well, I hope so, because you see, the people who are in the CDF's camp already have attacked you. David Kabanda, just after you were on Capital Gang, came out and attacked you.
Of course, there are very many characters.
Of course, he spoke at you very strongly. He used very strong language, saying how you want the favors and everything. And in your response, you replied him, which I want to actually also focus on. In your response, you came out and said, "Look, ordinarily, I will not, dignify Kabanda's forest of empty talk with a response. I have no energy to engage in an argument with somebody who is intellectually journalist. From what you have written, I advise you to upgrade your education and reason like those who went to school."
Kabanda is one of the intellectually ungifted people. He has low levels of education. He is the member of parliament. So at our level, really we can't engage in an intellectual and scholarly discussion with him. He's just a mere senior sixth river who yes, he's PLU. So he just wants to be seen in good light by MK and so forth. But some of us are beyond that level. When we speak, we don't speak to please anybody. When I communicate to inform the public. I know what I communicate may not be pleasant and palatable to all those who are listening, but my duty is to be honest, to be truthful, and give it my best. If he thinks by writing that, then he's trying to endear himself to some people. That, you see, we are in politics and in these positions for different reasons. When he was reading, he says, I speak the way I speak because I maybe want the president to take attention and appoint me. I am not dying for any appointment. I am a qualified medical doctor with a PhD in medical sciences. Even if I chose to walk out of politics now, I can be employed even in a better job than being a minister. I was a senior advisor with the United Nations. I worked in New York. And when I chose to leave New York, I was posted to Harare to be a regional HIV advisor for HIV. I declined and went to Parliament. So I am not a job seeker. I am not somebody who wants to survive on the politics. That's why I speak my mind the way I see it. So I am not at the level of Kabanda. That's why I said I cannot engage in an argument with a low caliber fella who is just trying to seek attention. I don't seek attention. That's why even when I advise the president, I advise him with honesty. Honesty. I say things which many people fear. When I sat in SEC, even when I sit in the cabinet, even in other platforms, I give honest advice to the president and the government. I say things which many people would ordinarily fear to say, simply because I am just being honest to my country. So I cannot engage in cheap talk like that one of Kabanda. That's not my level. That's why I had to put him on the level that I advise him to go back to school, so that when you raise an argument, people see you as somebody who is raising an argument which is intelligible, not just pedestrian talk, saying, I was happy when Igaruga died, I arrested the police. Rubbish.
Well, he's from the PAU camp, and it sounds like they are up against you, and they are not happy with you being at Crossroads. You're speaking something different, because honestly, you are giving your views just like this, and they have attacked you. And this, of course, has got the attention of the CDF himself. Are you worried for your position in government and for your political career? Because you look, sounds like you're up against...
The position I have looked for is the position of member of parliament for Chinchis East, which, thankfully, the voters have given me. And I should be able to get sworn in May and start my work. That's it. All these other extra responsibilities which come are the discretion of the president. If he chooses to appoint you and gives you a responsibility, well and good, you serve. If he doesn't, I don't take any offense. It is up to him to choose whom he wants to work with to run a government. I have never lobbied to be a minister. I have never lobbied to be given anything. So to think that I should have a sleepless night because they might drop me, or the only thing I pray for is good health and life, so that God doesn't take me early. Otherwise, even if I was not in the parliament, even if I had lost the parliamentary seat, I have a home in Kampala, I have a home in Kanungu, I have a family. All of you are not in the parliament. Are you not surviving? Uganda has 46 million Ugandans. Are all of them ministers? Are all of them members of parliament? So people should not take these political positions that we hold as if they are heavenly. That if you are a minister, then you are top of everything, you have conquered the world. Am I the first minister? There are many ministers who have been there. They have come and gone. Even me, I am aware, time will come, I will no longer be a minister and serve in other responsibilities. You do not even have to be a government minister to serve Uganda. There are many Ugandans who are serving their country in different spaces, and all of us bear contribute. So when the president, when you catch his eye and he appoints you, you thank him, yes, you appreciate. But you know they have to die that you are fighting to be a minister, no. Not me.
And you know, you're talking about that. It reminds me of the CDF writing to the president to appoint Alan Kasuja as the Uganda Media Center top boss. And the president then wrote a letter addressed to the CDF, General Muhoozi Kainerugaba, on that issue. And he writes in part, I received your letter reference. This, you know, and is replying to a letter. Therefore, he says, by copy of this letter, I direct the Minister for Information to appoint Alan Kasuja as the Executive Director of the Uganda Media Center and look at others to appoint them as his deputy. That, what does that speak to?
Well, the first thing that we have an internal weakness within the government where communication is leaked. I don't know how that letter leaked. I also saw it on social media. But that aside, yes, we have had the internal discussions with the president on replacement of Fonopondo. And like you saw in the letter, I spoke to the president. I am now preparing instruments to appoint Alan Kasuja as the new executive director of Uganda Media Center. So that letter is authentic. I can confirm it.
But that letter did not come to you. It went to the CDF and it said, by copy of this. In other words, you are secondary to this.
No, I think the president had spoken to the CDF. There are a lot of...
And that speaks about the center of power. The president speaks to the CDF, the CDF writes to you. But the letter was addressed to the CDF and said, by copy of this.
Yes, that particular one. But there are also those which he writes to me.
But there's that specifically. And it should be telling that this is... Honestly, if you are, the Uganda Media Center is under the Ministry of Information, right? And the president would have written directly to you.
But I can tell you that before he wrote,
he writes to the CBF.
Hold on. Before he wrote, I had a conversation with him. I may not want to go into details of what we talked, but he called me. I was the Kanungu.
Official communication is through writing. That letter was written.
Yes, but there was a consultation. There should be no problem.
Let's just say that that's how power runs. The president writes to the CBF to instruct you to appoint.
No, we had a conversation between the three of us. I spoke to the president. He called me. I was the Kanungu in the campaigns. And I have no big issue. The CDF is an office also. So I have no problem with that one. I think the president tells me they will communicate the CDF. So I don't want you to read as if I was undermined in any way. No. In this case, no. In this case, no. There was no big problem. There was the consultation. Actually, that letter came later after we had done a lot of conversation over that issue.
But what does the law speak about the appointment of the top boss at the media center? Is it through public service? Is it through appointment? What is it like? Do people have to apply for this job? Or the president just appoints?
Well, it depends on what we have agreed, but
because if something is under through public service, then public service advertises, people apply, people sit for interviews, and then...
No, you can also do internal recruitment. There are many processes, like the executive directors of these agencies that fall under the ministry. I appoint them, but where there are boards, like say UCC, the board which I appoint, shortlist individuals. You can do internal adverts or external. You can do headhunting. There are different ways of sourcing for human resource. Then when they, like UBC, there is a board which I appoint. Processes, then when they recommend, I then appoint the ED, Posta Uganda, all these agencies. So in this case, Uganda Media Center doesn't have a board. So I act as a board, as a minister who supervises it. And we have used the head hunting, which is also legally acceptable within the recruitment procedures of government.
You as the board, you right now act as the board upon the instructions of the president.
No, but you see,
the president instructs you.
But I represent the president as a minister.
But you see, you say that you have to sit at the board to appoint.
No, where there is a board, Uganda Media Center does not have a board. So in that case, I have that executive function of running those affairs. A board represents the minister. You see, there are institutions, agencies that are established by law, like say Uganda Communications Commission. There is the Uganda Communications Act of 2013, which clearly defines there will be a board appointed by the minister. The board will do ABCD. The UBC Act of 2005 also establishes a board which is appointed by the minister, and the functions and responsibilities are spelled out. Like when they are recruiting an MOD, they do the recruitment, then they recommend to me for appointment. Now, the difference, Uganda Media Center is a relatively new agency that was created initially under office of the president and then shifted to the Ministry of Information. And there is no law. There are some guidelines creating it, but there is no board. So that function, which ordinarily would be for the board, is done by the minister. But you should also know the minister represents the president to provide the political supervision of the ministry. So, and actually even those boards of agencies, when they are being appointed, they are appointed by the minister, but we take them to cabinet to have an input of the president and the cabinet members. That's how we do it. So there is nothing irregular. There is nothing irregular. So in this case, we have used head hunting, not advertising. And it is also acceptable within the framework of sourcing for human resource within government. So once we headhunt and arrive at an individual, then we regularize and formalize that appointment. That's what I'm saying. I am now preparing the instruments, the government instruments to appoint Alan Kasuja. And there is nothing irregular about that.
Well, Alan is my friend, so I should
Well, we have human resource manuals.
I should congratulate you on that.
We have human resource manuals that guide us on how we do those recruitment.
Okay.
For instance, if I identify good talent in Uganda and somewhere outside Uganda or anywhere, and we feel he adds value to the work of government, we can headhunt that person and then formally and legally recruit that person without breaking any law.
I want to tell you, Mr. Sven, that before we close the show, Dr. Chris Baryomunsi, you've really been upset about the decision of SEC to front Anita Among as Speaker and Taiwo as Deputy Speaker. I mean, you've put your foot forward to say, look, we are still, SEC hasn't yet been dissolved. Why are you rushing? What's going on?
No, you have not got it right. My point is not about the individuals, Anita Among and Thomas Taiwo. I have nothing personal against them. I am a stickler to procedure and processes and formality and thoroughness. Maybe I don't want to be called a perfectionist and what. What happened, the comment I made was that we have just come out of elections. And the election cycle is not yet complete. There are members of parliament who are not yet elected. Like persons with disability are not yet elected. The army was elected the other day, and the youth.
Youth one.
No, MPs.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah.
And the election cycle for members of parliament will end on the 6th of February, next week. Now, every member of parliament who has been voted to be in the Taurus parliament is eligible to run and vie for speakership. Even myself, if I chose to run as the Speaker of Parliament, and I think I have capacity, competence, and ability to do that, nobody would stop me because the law allows me that. Now, within NRM, we have rules of procedure, which we pushed for to guide the party on how to handle placing people in the positions of responsibility. It's not only the speaker alone. You have the speaker, you have deputy speaker, you have parliamentary commissioners, you have chairpersons of committees, membership of committees, you have some international organizations like Commonwealth Parliamentary Association, Interparliamentary Union, where we designate members to serve on behalf of NRM. So we have rules of procedure on how those are handled. So when I read that the SEC in his first sitting has sat and endorsed the speaker and the deputy to continue serving in the 12th parliament, that's okay. So that against them, they are my friends and they have worked well and I have no issue with them. But I was just querying
the systematic
system. Yes, I said, why the hurry? Why? Because what is expected is that when we have stabilized, we are not even gazetted as a newly elected MP.
Correct.
Now, when we have settled,
not even sworn in.
No, even before us, the process can start even before swearing in. Can start before. Because the first activity we start as a parliament is electing the speaker. So the party has to prepare before. It can start before the swearing in. But what is expected that the Electoral Commission of NRM, chaired by Dr. Tango Doi, should put out a call for expression of interest for members of parliament who are interested, say the speaker and deputy speaker. Then I am not interested to run. I saw Kawanda saying, you want to be speaker, as if he has powers to stop me from running. But I'm not interested in running. Then those who are interested, who should include those who are yet to be voted? Because I'm sure there will be some who are NRA members who will come as PWDs and so forth. Then they express their interest. Then the Electoral Commission will sit and shortlist them. And ideally, they should not remove anybody, because if I've been voted as an MP, whether I'm a drunkard, whether I'm less educated like Commander, what, I am eligible. Because the constitution says members of parliament will choose from amongst themselves a speaker and a deputy. So anybody who has been voted is eligible. Now, then from there, the Electoral Commission can go and present these names to SEC.
Oh, yeah.
SEC. Then SEC should have the opportunity to listen, invite them.
Correct.
And each one says, why do you want to be a speaker of parliament?
Correct.
Because I've been voted an MP, I have the ambition and the desire to serve as a speaker, and nobody should take away that right. Then the president chairs the SEC. He can listen to them and listen, they bring their CVs, look at them. And then SEC decides. It is true, there is a precedence that we usually give the speaker 2 terms and an written rule. But of course, it's not written. If there was no reason to remove a speaker, we can remove him or her. If, for instance, the speaker has not performed well. Correct. But that's not the point I was raising. So then, SEC can now then discuss. Say, okay, these ones, they are young, vibrant people. Yeah, they can make good speakers. But in the spirit of harmony, given our practice and assessing, even the speakers should be audited and assessed. How have they performed? There are issues in the parliament. I don't want to say them now. If you ask me, or if I go in the right forum, there is need for me to give my own observation, I will give them. And there are things which are wrong in the parliament there, having served there as a commissioner and as a senior MP, but that's for another day. But then the SEC would sit, listen to those who have expressed interest, and if in the view of SEC, would want to maintain, to recommend the 2 speakers, which is okay, they can do so, but cancel the other one. The president has usually encouraging words, the father's house has many rooms, because there will be positions of commissioners. He will be appointing ministers. There will be chairpersons of committees. Some of those, it can be an opportunity for them to be seen by the president. And when he's making wider considerations, he can look at them. Then now SEC can then formally take a decision. Say, no, we have received the applicants, we have, yes, they're good, assessed and we looked at all these in the interest of politics of the country. These speakers have worked, the reason they were giving. As SEC, we formally recommend the speaker and deputy to be given another chance. Then now they bring that recommendation to the NRM parliamentary caucus where we sit. Then we can generate consensus so that when we go now to parliament, NRM nominates those candidates, the speaker and deputy, and definitely we shall mobilize parliament and even get support from opposition. So for me, my point was, let's be thorough. NRM is a party, and the party should run as an institution. Some of us don't like a way of doing things in the kwara way. So there was no need for hurry, because now they create an impression as if you are running away from something. And yet, I don't think there are fundamental problems with the speaker and the deputy from the wider membership of us who have been serving with them. So for me, I'm not against the individuals, but I am just, my point was on being thorough and sticking to the procedure which should guide us.
According to the NRM constitution.
Absolutely. And I have no regrets. I know people calling, how can you do this? The SEC is chaired by the president. How? But my instrument of appointment as a minister says my cardinal responsibility, among others, is to advise the president. And we give these pieces of advice in good faith, because I am a young person by all standards. I chose on my own to join NRM. I could have chosen to join any other party. Even now, if I wanted, if there was reason, I can join, but I have chosen to be in NRM. So my contribution to the NRM is to see that NRM is a well-run political party which should be able to survive even beyond us as individuals who are leaders now.
Correct.
And that's what guides me. Even when I sat in the SEC, my views were always very clear. Maybe that's why they fought hard that we get out. But no problem, I have no problem. When I speak in the cabinet, my mind is always very clear. For those who sit with us there, even in the parliament, my thoughts are always very clear. So I am really very clear-headed on how I articulate what my conscience has cleared me to say. And I feel at peace once I have aired it.
Honorable Chris, thank you. Thank you for taking time to speak to us. I know it was tough, but yeah, thank you so much for answering these questions.
Thank you very much for the hard questions. I hope I have not given hard answers, but soft answers which satisfy the viewers.
All right, and you made clear some things. Thank you, Chris Baryomunsi. Thank you for watching. It's been a deep conversation with the government spokesperson and the Minister for Information, Dr. Chris Baryomunsi, really dissecting a number of issues. I'm Solomon Serwanja. Thank you for watching. This is The Hard Questions.